Welcome to Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey, the podcast where we have conversations that matter most. I'm your host, Ruth Cassell, and this show is all about digging deeper into root causes of autism, navigating the uncomfortable conversations that so many of us avoid, and finding clarity in midst of challenges that we face as parents, caregivers, and advocates. We explore stories of hope and real-life struggles and the strength it takes to walk this journey. It isn't about a diagnosis. It's about a journey of understanding, supporting, and truly seeing individuals with autism in our lives and finding our own identities along the way. So whether you are a parent, a professional, or someone just starting to learn, join me as we break down the barriers, share insights, and keep pushing forward in the autism community. Because together, we can navigate this journey, one conversation at a time. Welcome back to Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey. I'm your host, Ruth Cassell, and today's episode, we're going to be diving into an important conversation about apraxia, motor coaching, and how occupational therapy, known as OT, plays a crucial role in supporting our kids. Many autistic individuals, especially those with apraxia, face motor planning challenges that affect their ability to communicate and engage with the world. And that's why I'm excited to welcome our guest, Dr. Melanie Conway, an experienced occupational therapist specializing in motor control and regulation for young children and adults. Melanie has worked with countless families, including my own son, Elijah, helping children develop the motor skills they need to be successful. Today, we're going to be discussing the importance of OT, why early intervention matters, and practical ways that parents can support motor development at home. So let's get started.
Hello.
Melanie, I'm so excited for you to be here today.
I know, me too. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I just want to share, I talk a lot about this with a lot of parents, and I try to share, our experiences, and especially with apraxia, because I feel like there's a lot more, especially on the more severe side of autism, because I didn't know what apraxia was, honestly, until I came to you guys. I had an idea, I heard a little bit about it, but I learned a whole lot more when I got there.
Yes.
So do you think that's fair to say, like, more children that's on the severe side, like level 3, you see more of those apraxic or dyspraxia traits, right?
I would say yes. And even just coming to the terms of like having other parents or even other caregivers, therapists, just understanding what is apraxia and really like in a short definition, just a breakdown in motor. They can't get their body to do what they want when they want. The brain is trying to send the signal, but the signal is getting lost in their body. And so then their body ends up doing something totally, completely different than what the task is doing. So I see that breakdown a lot when the clients that I'm working with.
Yeah, I think that's a critical point, understanding the OT's role that's in apraxia and that motor challenge. And, can you like maybe define it a little bit like of what apraxia is and how it affects that motor planning? So some of our listeners.
Yeah, definitely. So apraxia, this is a breakdown in the motor. So meaning that even though what is being asked of the child is understood and the intention is there to complete the task, but their body is not following. So, for example, like the brain is trying to send a signal to the muscles that need to move or the body parts that need to move, but that signal is getting lost. And then that's why their body's doing something completely different. So, for example, it could look like maybe they're walking outside the door and you ask them to grab their backpack. And instead of, they keep on walking past the door. And so with apraxia, it's not that they didn't want to grab the backpack or they didn't understand what was being asked of them. What was happening was they were having a hard time telling their body to stop, get their eyes on the backpack, reach down, grab the backpack, and then go out the door. So there's all of these motor steps involved in this certain one little task. And what is happening is that signal is getting lost. So then their body is walking outside the door without their backpack. And that is apraxia. It's looking something totally different because they can't get their body to do what they want, and especially on demand. When it's on demand, it's so much harder to get their body to do what they want. And with praxis, this is motor planning. So this is taking an idea. Now on the opposite side, like a praxis, this is the ability to execute smooth movements. This is your ability to plan a motor plan and carry out those steps. So within praxis, you have a bunch of steps. That is forming an idea, then you're planning, organizing, you're initiating, executing, adapting, and then also inhibition. So for example, when we have praxis, and an example of this going through those different steps is, for example, say you're hungry and you want to make a sandwich. So for that first step, having that idea, I'm going to make a sandwich, and then going to that next step, which is planning and organizing. So what all do I need to do? How do I need to organize my body? And then going to that next step, sequencing. So now you're starting the motor, getting your body movement to that first step of making a sandwich. And then going into executing. This is where you're standing up your body, you're initiating the motor movement to follow through. And then going into adapting. Say there's no more jelly. So now you have to think of something else or go get another item to make a sandwich, whether it's fluff to make a fluff and nutter sandwich instead of a peanut butter and jelly. And then lastly, that inhibition, being able to stop your body from putting peanut butter on the bread. And so you're putting the correct amount you want and not overloading it with peanut butter. So all of these steps are within praxis, and you are constantly, any motor task you're doing throughout the day, even all the clients that I'm working with, they are constantly going through each of these steps within praxis to carry out a motor plan. So someone who has apraxia is going through these steps, but there's a breakdown in one of these steps, and then now they have to get their body back up. So if there was a breakdown in initiating, starting their body to, going back to that backpack example, so reaching down and grabbing the backpack, maybe they keep on walking outside the door. So now they have to tell their body, turn their body and come back to the backpack and grab it. So you can see we are constantly doing this throughout every task that we're doing throughout the day. Praxis is used for everything.
And this is why and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is why that motor coaching is so valuable.
Yes.
That's why, it's not that he doesn't understand. I'm helping him build new pathways. And that's the thought behind the motor coaching, correct?
Yes. So with motor coaching, you are breaking down a task into smaller steps and then coaching their body through the steps. So getting their body to do it where they're doing it independently, and you're providing these prompts and these verbal cues, but they're doing all the movement rather than you just physically putting them in the position that you want. And so with motor coaching, they are working on the skills and building the skills they need to be independent. That's the end goal. Like all the clients want to have independence, autonomy, and be able to do things on their own. And to help these individuals do that is by motor coaching, to gain that independence and gain that motor control of their body. So now when a motor demand is put on them, they can do it because they've been practicing and on these other motor skills and with someone motor coaching their body.
Yeah. Because people hear me do that with him a lot out in public. I motor coach like all the time.
I love it. Yes, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. But I do get some interesting looks because I'm just repeating it over and over. It's just like uh, I'll give an example of one out in public. Through like when he's in behavior and he pulls my hair, you know, motor coaching like open your fingers. And that's the tone I'm using. And I'm like, come on, you can open your fingers. Come on, open your fingers. Tell your body to open your
Yes.
fingers, and because it's not so much that he's trying to continue to do it, he's stuck in a loop at that point. He's stuck in a motor loop and he can't release. Um, and I just know the difference. It's not, I
Yes.
don't know.
And
I
think
can
of
just
it,
tell the difference now.
yes. And think of it too, like in that moment when our body is dysregulated or we're upset, now we're in that fight or flight. So if think of like you were upset or if I was and someone was just like, hey, calm down, like that's not going to help my body. It's not going to calm me down, probably just make me a little bit more upset and frustrated. So the best way to help, like the example you gave, holding on the hair and we want to let go. So instead of saying let go, yes, that's the end goal, but how can I help that individual let go of my hair in its motor coaching? So think about like, what does your body need to do to let go of the hair? We're going to say, open your fingers. That's going to be more productive and more helpful for the individual because then now all they have to do is tell their body, like you were saying, tell your body, open your fingers, open, open, open. And you'll see that is more helpful rather than saying, let go, because they're like, I know I need to let go. I just can't get my body to do it. So going back to that motor coaching, giving those direct prompts of open your fingers is going to be so much more helpful. And like, I love how you commented, keeping your voice calm. That is so important too.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times tonality is huge, plays a huge role, and different parts of, and keeping calm in those moments definitely help keep him to calm down.
Yes.
That's-
Yes. Oh,
Let's talk about the connection between motor challenges and communication delays. When I think of this, I know it's relevant to Elijah's case. This is why, I sought out different things, and this is how I got to, get to know you and know the speller's method. Because, he can do a lot of things, like physically. Like but there was that delay, and I was looking at it in a behavioral lens because that's what I was being shown only, you know.
yes. Yes.
But with his, communication, I knew he was there. I don't know how to explain this, but I just knew he was there. We hadn't started AAC yet, but at that point, and we were looking into doing AAC. And the only reason why I bring it up is because he was looking up YouTube videos and he would stop it on things. Like he would stop on J is for juice, and he'd be asking for juice. Q is for quesadilla, and he would go find these videos. I'm like, wow, he is so smart.
Hmm.
He can find these things. He's in there.
Yes,
He just
definitely.
couldn't get it out. And I had read about, speech apraxia, but I didn't know it could be throughout the whole motor planning. But once I met with you guys and, once I had gone through some of the spelling, couple of sessions, then I understood. I was like, oh, wow, that's more than what I thought. And I took a whole different approach at that point because I'm like, whoa, you
Yes.
know,
Yes. And really, like, it's not a cognitive delay, anything like that, or behavior. It really comes down to it's a motor challenge. Like they struggle, it's going back to that, what I talked about, apraxia, getting the motor output, being able to put that motor output out there so they can, whether you use an AAC device and being able to point to what they want, and being purposeful with their motor.
mhm.
Like that's the biggest piece is being purposeful with their motor output. And think about it too, not only are they working on their motor control, but if sensory stuff comes in at them, like that's going to affect their motor output as well. So
Mhm.
it's not just working on their motor skills, but also sensory things too, and their regulation. So that's going to factor in and can disrupt the motor output coming out with that too. So it's really a motor challenge that they're struggling with and not being able to get their body to do what they want, be on demand and like be and purposeful, intentional with it.
Yeah. And I think, even early on, if I would have known about these strategies when he was first showing signs, I probably would have taken a whole different approach. But I didn't even hear, nobody was talking about these either. And I'm, fortunate because he started when he was 5. Okay, so when I first, when he first got diagnosed or even was showing signs and we were waiting, I didn't know about any of this stuff. When we had an OT, that's the only service I was able to get at first was OT. But they didn't talk about that. We focused on like pencil grasp and he's 3 and we talked about potty training and stuff and you know I believe OT has been very helpful for him, but I wish I would have known just a little bit more about some of these other terms, especially apraxia. I heard about apraxic speech, but they never said it could be like whole body apraxia.
Yes.
You know, And I'm thankful because I followed my intuition and I was like, no, there's more. I could do more out there
Yes.
because we did therapies like play therapy, like DIR therapy, that, I was like, well, let me try something because that really did help, but it wasn't enough. The regulation piece wasn't there. And I understand ABA and I know where that is. But all of his stuff, I was like, this is not behavior. This is something else is going on.
Yes. And I
And
like,
I just couldn't, but it was being looked at as behavior, you know?
yes.
And I knew it wasn't. Like, I don't know, just deep down in there, I was like, that's not a behavior.
Yes. And I like how you mentioned that because the biggest piece in being an occupational therapist and educating not only parents, caregivers, other therapists, or anyone I'm working with, but that biggest piece, presuming competence. So, not only presuming competence that they can learn and they want to learn, but the biggest piece that I'm always coaching and educating other parents and anyone I'm working with is presuming competence in their body. So, meaning that they do understand me, they can do and they want to do what I'm asking them, like no matter what motor task it is, even if their body is looking like they don't want to do it, or, you know, showing that like they're laying on the floor, and we're trying to do a motor task. The biggest piece is changing slowly, and it takes a process. I don't expect anyone to just right away presume competence 100%. It's going to take time and change, but opening up and having that mindset of like, okay, let me just presume competence for this one activity. Even if they're lying on the floor, I'm going to presume that they do want to do this, and I'm going to motor coach, going back to that motor coaching, and coach their body off the ground and get their body to do what you're asking them. That's going to be so
Yeah,
helpful.
I love that because, that gave me I'll take it back. One thing was like, I'm grateful that I found you guys when he was that old, 5 years old. But
Yeah.
I think, you could start a little bit younger than him. But for the regulation piece, for sure, I
Yeah.
probably would have liked to started at least, maybe not um into the spelling part, but just regulation part when he was like 3 years old, looking at an OT that would look at it that way more than
Yes.
oh, let's work on writing. We didn't need to work on writing. He's 3.
Yes. And think of it too, like in my field when I'm working with clients, especially younger little clients, is working on not only the motor, because that's so big, and especially gross motor skills. That's going to help to build their fine motor skills, working on that gross motor first. But just as important is working on their regulation piece, just like you mentioned, because if you think about it, they're so young, and if they've never been taught how to regulate their body, how to calm their body down, then when they do things that are maybe frustrating or hard, they're not going to know how to calm their body down if they were never taught. So I think it's so important when they're young to find out, okay, what are some good regulation strategies? Is that a swing? Do they like deep pressure? Finding out what works and helps to calm their body down, and then utilizing that when you guys are doing tasks and okay, like we're getting a little frustrated. Okay, let's take a pause. It's okay to take a pause and a motor break, get our body regulated, and then come back to the task or activity, whatever you might be doing. Because if your body isn't regulated and you're not in this calm state, it's going to be so hard to push through and finish an activity if we're super dysregulated. So the goal is we're going to shift. The goal should be regulation. And then, okay, once our body is regulated, now let's go back to the motor task and activity and finish it. Because one of my key points when I'm working with a client is what is my goal in that moment? And I really want to work either on regulation or, okay, their body's regulated, so now let's work on a motor goal and making sure that it's intentional and purposeful and we're not just completing a task just to get it done and to check it off our checklist.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, 'cause sometimes we feel like, I know for at least me, I have so many therapies that he's in and so many activities that I keep him in, and it's actually to wear him out. So he'll sleep through the night, but that's a different topic. But, you know, I
Yeah.
do a lot with him and I'm very involved with him. So, you know, sometimes it can feel like a checklist.
Mhm.
But I try not make it that way. And it does become more natural and organic when you do that.
Yes. And they're really gaining doing that. Like, think about when I'm talking about intentional motor and okay, what does that look like? What can you do? And it's something easy that you could do at home. It could be doing a hobby or let's help me out doing a chore. Like help me bring these groceries in or emptying the dishwasher or it could be taking a walk outside. Like those are still they're working on the motor control, working on regulation through those different tasks, and it's something that could be fun and engaging. That's something in all of my sessions I make sure that yes, we're working on certain goals and working on getting more independent, but making it fun and motivating too. I think that's such a huge thing, especially for younger clients, and getting them more involved and engaged.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we talked a lot about younger clients because that's where we're at right now, but that's where, I'm at in my journey. But these young adults and adults on the spectrum definitely benefit from, even if they haven't been shown this, because it's never too late,
Yes, I
you
agree.
know?
Yes, 100%. No, there is no cutoff or, anyone can do this and you can start at any time and wherever you are at in your life right now. And I would say the biggest thing when you are working on doing motor is okay, what's age appropriate? So for my older clients that I'm working with, I'm not going to do an obstacle course. I'm going to pick activities that are age appropriate for those older clients. Whereas if I'm working with a little, then yes, I'm going to do an obstacle course because that's more fun and engaging for them. And starting there, and then once I'm seeing their motor skills and motor control and they have really good regulation, then I'm going to push and I'm going to make these motor tasks a little bit more challenging because I want to challenge them and get them to do things that others didn't think they could do because I 100% believe that they can do anything. And any task that I throw at them, they are able to complete it. And it just a little bit support for me, but 100% they can do anything.
Yeah, and I think, it's not only assuming competence in them, it's that they've never had that too.
Yes.
Someone else to even do that for them, like presume that they even can do it.
Yes.
And that can be really heartening, disheartening when you hear that from others, especially in our community, because I've heard that from, non-speakers.
Yes. And like I said, that's why my biggest thing is educating and parents, caregivers, whoever it might be that's coming to see me and getting them to understand to I think the biggest piece is that presuming competence in their body. Like that is like a big piece to start from. And having that mind shift, like maybe you were used to like, oh, they're on the floor, they don't want to do it. And having that little bit of shift, like, okay, maybe this one day I'm just gonna like shift my brain, that mindset and think, okay, they do want to do this, they just can't get their body off the ground. And slowly, as you keep having that mind shift, you will notice like, wow, they're getting their body up quicker off the ground, or they're getting more intentional with their motor and stuff like that. So yes, it might be a slow process. It might be a little bit quicker, and that's okay. Either there's no right or wrong way. I would say just always presume that they do want to do it, whatever is being asked of them.
Yeah. And I care, and since you guys have taught me, more, that I have fostered that more in everything we do. So like we have adaptive swim coach and she's amazing. And I talk about motor coaching and she's been motor coaching with him. She's been doing all these, things with him. And it really does
Yes.
help because I've built people around him and I keep trying
Yes.
to build his team that we are utilizing what we're already doing to help with regulation and grow those motor skills that he needs,
Yes.
you know,
I
and
think that's
presuming that he can do it.
Yeah, I think that's so important, having that team and someone who believes in him and is going to, help support him and help him grow. Like that is so beneficial. And finding people that are open and willing to like, okay, tell me more about motor coaching or presuming competence, or how can I support Elijah if he's doing this? How can I help support his body, whether it's regulation or with the motor skills?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important to, like you said, to build that team because you
Yes.
need that. And that actually brings me to the next point of what I was thinking about was like, how does OT help children develop the essential motor control and coordination? So how does OT really help affect that?
I would say with what I'm doing in my field in occupational therapy is one, the biggest thing is looking at the holistic view of the child. So, meaning looking at their motor profile, their sensory profile, and their regulation. As I'm looking at that,
It's like, taking the whole child, everything, the sensory, the motor.
so as an occupational therapist, what I'm doing is really looking at the holistic view of the child, meaning I'm looking at their motor profile, looking at their gross motor skills, their fine motor skills, what's their motor control like when they're doing certain tasks. I'm looking at their sensory profile. Are they a sensory seeker or a sensory avoider, or maybe a little bit of both, depending on what it is? I'm also looking at their regulation. Can they regulate their body when they're doing challenging activities? So, taking that all into consideration and really working on building and gaining the skills they need to improve their motor skills. So that's why motor coaching is so important, looking at, because we want to make sure that the individual is really gaining and improving on their motor skills. And we're going to be, how I'm doing this is helping them build the skills they need to complete the motor task. And because, like I mentioned earlier, the goal is that independence and autonomy. So when we're doing different motor tasks and building the motor skills, we're really working on initiation, being able to start our body, get that body moving to start the task, sustaining our motor, being able to keep our body moving to complete the steps, follow through with the steps of that certain motor task, and then inhibition, being able to stop our body. So once we complete that task, being able to stop and then go to the next activity. All of these things I am working on as an occupational therapist when we're doing intentional motor, so that the individual can gain and really build on their motor skills, their motor control.
Yeah, I think that's imperative, especially when we talk about like why early intervention is imperative for motor coaching. Like
Mm-hmm.
why does that matter? Like why does early intervention for um motor coaching matter? And to me, I think it's that brain, body connection within
Yes.
that motor. That's my opinion.
Yes. And think of it, they starting, having that early intervention and that early motor coaching and really working on that motor control and getting control of their body. And if we're doing stuff that's purposeful motor intentional, they're building those new neural pathways in their brain. So they're getting more control. So now if they want to go get a glass of water, we've worked on these skills, we built those new pathways in the brain. So now they can tell their body, okay, get my body up from the couch, walk to the kitchen, get that glass of water. And the more new pathways that we build, then the more motor control we have. So then when we start to do new motor tasks, we have that control, we practiced it, and now we can get our body to do it on demand a little bit quicker.
Yeah, it's all about, having that connection and learning that motor.
Yes,
Because if you don't learn it, right?
yes. And I think the key thing too is practicing it too. And another good thing to think about too when we're building those connections and learning new motor skills is start small. Take one activity, what is most important you want to work on, and build from there. Don't think that you have to do every motor task, learn it all at once, because that can be very overwhelming. Just picking one, start with that, build the motor skills, motor coach through that activity, because every motor task activity that the child is going to work on, there's going to be different motor steps. And after that, then practice it, practice and practice. Really work on the skills that need to be done to complete the activity.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. Because, I always think of it this way too, because I not in my son's case, but I've helped advocate with other children, and they're like, oh, they released them from OT or because they've met all their goals. Well, it just sounds like we need to make new goals,
Yes, exactly.
because sometimes the regulation's not there. And I know it's not the same, but like OT does play a huge role in regulation.
Yes, I agree. Like, that is so key. Just think about if your body was dysregulated and I was like, okay, go listen to this high cognitive biology lesson and report back to me. You'd be like, oh, wait a minute, this is, I need to regulate first. Same thing with my clients I'm working with.
Hmm.
I want to get their body regulated before I'm pushing them to do a hard motor task because that's going to be so beneficial for them is once they can get their body regulated and then to push through and try something challenging and follow through with a motor task. So yeah, regulation is key.
Yeah, and I think, I'm blessed to have you guys on my son's team just because of the fact that you do take the holistic approach and it's not seen like that, I think, in a lot of the OT world, you know, but I think we're starting to see a shift and it needs to happen because you guys are amazing, but sometimes you can't help everyone out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we need more people. We need to duplicate more people like you.
Yes. And two, just going back, I wanted to mention, I was just thinking of this with your regulation you asked. Um, Also taking note that it's okay to take a pause or a break or even come back to the activity, maybe come back to the activity the next day. That is totally fine. Don't think you have to just get it done that day, especially if our body is so dysregulated and we can't follow through. I think that's something I talk about a lot with my clients and my parents is that it's okay to take a break and or a pause or go outside for a walk and to help regulate that body. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing too, because sometimes everybody has off days, and that includes our children.
Yes,
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that.
I can relate with that myself.
Yeah, because I tell everyone, just like we have our off days or challenging days, so do um, the children or individual, anyone that I'm working with, they have their off days too. And so then just goes back to kind of like what I mentioned earlier is, okay, picking what's the goal? Maybe we just have to work on regulation the first start of the session, and then we can get to the motor activities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, why starting OT early can lead to better long-term outcomes? What do you think that is, Melanie?
I would say like early intervention with OT, it's so important because you're starting and you're really building the skills that they need to do motor task or even like to work on the skills for regulation. I think about having those skills set so early, then they can pull from that later on and be able to do hard things or, keep working on goals and making their goals harder. Just because, you accomplish one goal, you can set another one and make it harder or set a different one and kind of move forward. So I think starting early, setting that strong foundation, and then building off of that. I think that's like so huge and would be so beneficial and so helpful. Um, like, here is our foundation. I'm going to pull from this. I'm going to work on it and build my motor skills.
Yeah, I think that's imperative, because my kid, when he started OT, just if we're just talking about OT in general, obviously he's not the same as he was when he started.
Yeah.
He's fully potty trained. We have great regulation. Well, I won't say great, but it's a whole lot better than what it was. I
Yes.
mean, we couldn't even make it through a half-hour session in the
Yeah,
beginning.
and look at him now. Like, he crushes it, and being able to just self-regulate his body. Like, even when I do push him a little bit, he's able
Mhm.
to self-regulate and then come back to the task. Like, that is so huge for him.
Yeah, yeah. And you gotta think too, he's only 7 right now. And yeah, we've been doing it for almost 2 years now. But I'm gonna face challenges with him later. And I know this because it's called puberty, you know? And
Yes.
there's gonna be new goals
Yeah.
that I didn't face when he was 3.
Yes. And think, because we worked on the regulation, that now when we get to that point, now he's like, okay, I practice it with Melanie or mom. Like, I know I can regulate my body. So now I'm not getting super dysregulated, maybe a little bit, but I'm able to come back down quicker. And because he started so young too, like, his independence like is going to improve, and especially with like new tasks and being able to get his body to do what he wants, like his independence is going to be so good.
Yeah, and that's what I see. I see it as like a scaffolding,
Hmm.
Like you couldn't, yes, they're going to grow and get bigger, but like I think the early intervention piece and like as you start and you keep continuing on these goals, just because
Yes.
he's doing great with his regulation now, his hormones is going to disrupt that when he gets older.
Yes.
And I think about the future and then trying to mitigate some of those things that would come by being proactive to put things in place and knowing the skills that I've learned from you guys and that I have you
Yes.
on his team, that I don't feel like I'm gonna have to go through that by myself
Yeah. You
with,
have that support.
yeah, yeah. And he has that support
Yes. And
because
someone that,
it's different when they get a little into that pre-teenage and. The teenagers too. I mean,
yes.
think about us. We weren't the same. We
Yes.
had attitudes.
And think of too, like, we know his body, or like, and can support him. So like, if we are getting um dysregulated or upset, we know, okay, like, this was helpful for Elijah. So we're going to do this self-regulation strategy to help him work through these new goals or these new times when we are getting dysregulated. And like you said, he has that support from us, and we know how to help support his body through these new challenges that he might come across.
Yeah, yeah. So talking about that, what are key developmental milestones that parents should watch for? I think about this a little bit because like this is what pushed me to do more for him because like I was saying I don't think it's behavioral or some things that he was just doing. I was like, no, he understands. It's like it's almost like he's stuck in a loop. I didn't know there was a thing called a motor loop at that time, but in my head and in what I could find, I'm like, no, it's like he's stuck in like a ritual repeating program. I'm like, how do I
Hmm.
stop some of this behavior? Not even I don't think it was I said behavior at the time. I remember that to myself, but I was like, how do I stop this? And it wasn't like he was enjoying what it was. Sometimes it made him more upset. And
Hmm.
sometimes he still does this, and I have to be mindful on like what is happening at this on those things. And then I make him take a break from those and we go do something else. It happens with videos, it happens with his toys. I mean, it happens with a lot of things, but it will be perceived as behavior because he will get upset and smack himself and he'll start pulling hair and but if I notice right at the beginning and what is happening, I'm like,
Yes.
oh, he's stuck in a loop. I go stop the loop, redirect the attention, And I'm using OT tactics because I'm motor coaching during that time. I was like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
no more video, all done. And then I'll be like, let's go outside, let's go walking, walking, walking. Because I have to remind him because he doesn't want to go do that. He
And
wants to
think of
continue the loop.
And think about like what you're doing really is you're breaking, yes, this motor loop because our body is stuck in this. We're just keep doing the, this automatic thing. So we're in this non-thinking range in the brain. We're not really thinking about our body. We're just stuck in doing the same thing, whether it's stuck in the iPad or, stuck in doing another type of motor task that's not purposeful, not intentional. And what you're doing, we're saying, hey, let's go for a walk. Now, what you're doing is you're helping one break that motor loop, but also getting his body to be intentional. Now he has to think about his body, his movements. He is getting in that thinking region of his brain, and it's being purposeful. So that is so helpful to get that body into those purposeful tasks. Like I mentioned, doing a walk outside, riding the bike, a scooter, going to play on the playground, or even if you're in the house, like getting the laundry out of the dryer. Those can be very purposeful tasks to get their body to do something where they really have to think about their movements and what their body's doing.
Hmm. I was chuckling because last night he threw his clothes into the washing machine because he doesn't want to put them back on. He wanted to put something else on, and I was like, "No, we're not we're
He's
not
just having
doing
his style. He's like, come on, mom, I want to, I got a style.
that." He wanted to put his swim trunks back on. I was like, "No, we're done swimming."
He's like, I'm not yet. I still want to go swimming.
I was like, ah. So he threw everything in the washing machine. And there was clothes in there. It was going. So I was like, oh well, I guess those are gonna be washed now.
Yeah, extra wash. Let me extra clean.
So let's talk a little bit about the practical strategies for parents, like simple at-home exercises to strengthen motor control.
Yes, that's a great question. I would say, again, picking something small, one activity to not overwhelm because all of these different things are going to have different motor planning, motor skills that need to be done. So start small and then build from that. And at home, using like what you have, using the scooter, like that's something that's really going to help to work on motor control, those motor skills, gross motor, getting that whole body to move. It could be going on the swing. It could be something maybe in the house, helping set the table or bringing in the groceries, that heavy work kind of stuff. Or even another one that I love to mention is pushing a laundry basket, putting some stuff in it, like pillows, make it a little bit heavy, pushing that across the room. That is something, one, it's heavy work activity, getting their whole body to move, but then you're being purposeful. It's fun and engaging. So
Hmm.
things like that, like you can just use around the house or making an obstacle course, grabbing things where they have to climb up over something or under things, stepping on different surfaces like a pillow, having them step across that and utilizing what you have in the house to do fun and engaging, purposeful activities.
Yeah, we do a lot of those. We have a lot of different things that we use for, because I homeschool him and in between our task, like paperwork, but keep him focused. I keep the obstacle course up so he can go through and do it. And then I'm like, okay, let's go do 2 obstacle course loops. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do our table work. And it helps him keep motivated. It helps him focus and really does help, it to flow better. I can get his homeschool sessions done in like 45 to an hour.
Uh-huh.
And we have all of everything that we needed to complete for the day. And I do think it's because of giving him that purposeful movement and getting that out, like you said. I
Yes.
even use that laundry basket, uh, doing the heavy work,
Yes.
his weighted vest or his weighted blanket in
Oh,
there,
perfect. Yes. And
and his
two,
weighted dinosaur.
yes, there you go. Add that weight in there. And think of it too, not only for if it's working with a little body, I don't expect, for example, say if it's a 6-year old or 7-year old to sit at a table for 20, 30 minutes straight and not move. Like that is impossible demand to put on them. They need to get that movement out. So doing something like an obstacle course or pushing that laundry basket, get that movement out in an intentional way. So then if we're coming to the table to do a table task, we already got that movement out and we can do what we need at the table and then get up and do another movement break and then come back. Or for my older clients who have a busy body or impulsive body, same thing. Get that movement out where they really have to be intentional and think about what their body's doing. And then, okay, come back to the table and do whatever we need to do at the table. That's gonna be so beneficial because I know I can't sit still. No one can sit still in a chair at a table. Like you are still moving, adjusting, getting comfortable in the chair. So just yes, to set that expectation for any other younger client or older client who has an impulsive body, like that is going to be really hard for them. So how to help them and support their body is let's get up and do something intentional and then come back to the table, do what we need to, and then if we need another movement break, totally go back and forth and do that.
Yeah, I think that's important. It's like it actually leads into what I was going to ask next, but also the movement for me right now. This is one of the chairs that I utilize because it's a very sensory friendly chair. It's one of those wobble stools, and Elijah really likes it. I have it in different heights, and the reason for that, it how it makes you sit too. You sit straight up, so there's no like. I have to
Like
lean
slouch.
forward if I need to,
Yeah.
but it makes you sit up and have perfect posture on your hips.
Yes. And another good chair too is a ball chair. That can
Yes.
be helpful, like if our body needs movement to sit on that, but then you're still at the table doing what you need, the tabletop activity.
He has a ball chair too, and he loves that thing. He takes the ball out of it. I'm like, stop taking the ball out. I thought at first in the beginning it wasn't as hard. It was harder, I guess, to take the ball out. But now since he's taken it out so many times, it's become very easy.
It's easy.
Yeah.
He's figured it out. He motor planned to get.
Yeah. And motor planned and figured it out. I'm like,
Yes.
oh goodness, and that's what I was talking about, like how to create those sensory friendly environments that support that movement, just like what you said.
Hmm.
Those chairs help
Yes.
with that. What are some other things?
You can do also body engagers. So, what a body engager is something different than a fidget. A fidget can be a spinner where there's no motor demand put on you, but where a body engager is, for example, like a puzzle. That is something that you can do it at a table. It's very engaging. There's a little bit of motor demand put on you with that, and that can help to, one, keep our body at the table, keep it focused, and then we have that if we need a ball chair or a regular chair as we're staying engaged at the table. That can
Yeah,
be really helpful.
I can I definitely utilize that, but Elijah loves puzzles. So
Yes.
that is one of his things. We have so many jigsaw puzzles, it's crazy.
Hey, I love puzzles too. So, him and I, when we have our sessions, I love doing puzzles with him.
Did I tell you that someone got us a 5,000 piece puzzle?
Yes. And did you do it yet or didn't?
No, we haven't done it yet. So the role of play-based therapy and when it comes to like building motor skills, what is your thoughts on that?
I think doing things that like are fun and engaging for the client. So each client's going to look a little bit different. Not everyone is the same. So finding out what is going to be one motivating, what's going to work towards their goals, help them work on the motor skills they need. And then as we're doing that, motor coaching their body through the different tasks, whatever you choose, that's going to be so helpful. One, because it's fun and engaging, but then also it's working on the skills they need to have that independence and build on their motor skills.
Yeah, I like that. And I think, sometimes I see that I've seen a lot of people here lately asking for um OTs to help with sibling interaction for playing, you know, and
Yeah.
I think of I automatically think of like maybe you should look at doing like OT with motor coaching, or maybe like a play-based therapy to teach them how to play and read the body, you know.
And I think the best thing is too is like having that support. So with individual like motor coaching, but then when their siblings there, someone, whether it's the parent, and having both support. So like whoever needs it can feel supported when we're working on this goal of playing with our sibling when we're doing a task, and being able to balance, okay, who needs extra support, and having that one-on-one so that each child is feeling supported, but knowing, okay, if I can't get my body to do something, then Melanie's here to support my body or motor coach me through this task to finish it. But then whether it's mom or another therapist is working with a sibling to help support them and to talk about and like educate, like, okay, we're doing this because of X, Y, and Z to help support their body.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, here we come to the misconceptions.
Okay.
So, Melanie, let's
Yes.
talk about common misconceptions about apraxia and motor coaching. They'll grow out of it. Why is, intervention necessary? I hear that a lot.
Mm-hmm. I'd say the big ones that the misconceptions would be that it's a cognitive delay or it's behavior, meaning that the individual doesn't want or doesn't understand what is being asked of them, or they're doing something just to get out of the task. And it's not a cognitive delay, it is a motor challenge. They just can't get their body to do what they want, especially when a motor demand is put on them. And something that I think is really good to understand is a term called the least dangerous assumption. So Cheryl Jurgensen, who's an educator, wrote a good article about the least dangerous assumption. And so what is that? So I want to give you two scenarios, and I just want you to really like think about the difference of them. So for example, in scenario one, imagine you have an individual come into the room, and based on the available evidence, you believe that this individual doesn't understand what you're saying. And you use simple language, don't use full sentences, because you believe that they won't be able to process all that information that is coming at them. And you kind of just, you don't offer them age appropriate content. So that's scenario one. Now in scenario two, imagine that same individual is coming into the room, but now you offer content that their peers are getting exposed to. You're using age appropriate terminology when you're speaking to them rather than speaking about them as if they're not in the room. And now you're challenging this person to meet your high expectations. So think about those two scenarios. So in those scenarios, what happens if you're wrong? Have you harmed this individual in any way? And which one is the least dangerous? So just something to think about. And in Cheryl Jurgensen's article, I think it's really important. And she talks about how it's safer to presume that individuals have the ability and they want to learn. It's just they are unable to demonstrate their knowledge and what they can do.
Yeah. I've never read that article, but I'm going to include that in the show notes, and I definitely will look at that. So that's how I look at it with Elijah. People always say to me, they're like, oh, you don't talk to him like he... And I'm going to say it because this is how they say it, and it upsets me, but... And I don't react to them because I'm like, okay, they're not coming from a malicious point. They don't understand, and it's their ignorance and how they say it. But this is what has been said to me by many different people. Like he has any issues, you know? They're like, you speak to him like he's normal. I'm like, well, he is normal. And I did that before I met you guys. I'm like, he just can't get it out.
Yes.
I know he's in there.
Yes.
I know he's in there. And I'm like, yeah, well, he understands. It's not that he doesn't understand.
100%.
He's having a difficulty that it's like a breakdown of of relays. That's how I was explaining it to people.
Yeah. And think of too that breakdown. Like I think a really good example is their brain is one person and their body's another, like two different people, and they're trying to connect and get their body and their brain to connect together to fill and carry out a task. And so where they struggle with is again is that motor piece and getting their body to do what they want. So on the outside it's looking like they don't want to do it or they don't understand, which is not the case at all. It's they're having a motor challenge.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, since I've learned that from you guys, like I've taken a whole different approach to all of this because, yes, I felt like that was right about that, but it just confirmed that I was. And the more
Yeah.
that I leaned into it, the more progress I seen and am seeing for him and that
Yes.
I can see for him. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, that makes 100%.
Yeah, so possibilities are endless, and he may
That's
never
right.
have spoken word, but I'm giving him skill set that he will be able to get his thoughts out because, you know, he doesn't have to be a verbal person to be functional. You don't need verbal speech. Will you have a little bit more, hardships? Possibly, because people aren't going to understand. You can't do that for everybody in every case, right?
Yeah.
But he'd be able to type out, he would be able to do things. So just keeping on that path and giving him that hope where before, with his diagnosis, they don't give you any hope for.
Yeah, and you're giving him the regulation tools, the motor skills, building that independence and giving him that reliable form of communication and all of that, like the skills that we need. And that is so helpful in supporting him when he needs to, but giving him those things because all of that is, like I said, the holistic view and looking at that. We need all of that and working on our motors, our goals, or our independence. So that is so helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like I've heard, the communication skills when it comes to that, they're like, oh, speech therapy alone will fix it. Well, if you're not understanding the motor aspect of it, it's not going to fix the communication piece because that's where his was. Like, was so interesting, we learned more purpose motor skills, okay? And that did help us with AAC. Because we were already doing spelling, I was using motor coaching to help him with his AAC. But what was interesting is that even his speech therapist said at the time, she's like, we didn't have to teach him the language. He already knew it. He knew, like, and I know you don't know, and it's a little off topic. I can link this in the show notes too about a past episode about AAC. He started on a 77 grid, which is huge.
Huge.
And he can build up to 3 to 4 word sentences. Now, you have to prompt him. He's not going to do it on his own, but he will do it, like, if you ask him. Like, I'm not going to take 1 word answers. You want cheese? He'll say cheese, and he'll expect you to give him cheese. I'll say, no, you need to say a little bit more than just cheese. You know, I'll give you cheese if you say I want or I need, and I don't, I used to model, but I don't need to model because he can do it because I taught him through motor coaching and modeling that he can do that. So when his speech therapist said that to me, it just further proved your point about how you talk to them.
Biggest piece.
Yeah. Like, what is the harm in talking to them as if they're normal? Because guess what? They are. They're just stuck inside a jail cell of their own body and they're being held captive. That's how I view it.
And think
And
too, you're presuming competence. So like, and treating him age appropriately for his age, not talking down to him or baby talk. And so it goes back to that presuming competence. And that's like the biggest piece. And then you're seeing this with different things that he's doing.
Yeah. And I see it across the board. And I think, you know, that is the biggest piece, you know?
Yeah. And like I said, it'll take time and that's okay. Like learning that and taking one day at a time, one step at a time, and slowly just changing that mindset to presume competence. Not only that they're super smart and understand and can do it, but presuming competence in their body, even when their body's not looking like they want to do what is being asked.
Mm-hmm. So this is another one that I want your opinion on too, because this is another, something that people misunderstand. And I hear it a lot. If they can't do it now, they never will. And they say because of the neural plasticity and it won't allow them to grow, you know, that's not true. Science has actually proven that neuroplasticity can grow at any age.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say almost kind of throw it back like, why do you think they can't? Because just like you and I, we can learn new tasks with practice and educating ourselves on how to do things. Same thing with the individuals I work with. They can do anything, any new task. It's just practice and being consistent with it. Not only practicing it during our sessions with me, but then at home, practicing it with their parents, caregivers, or anyone. And again, it's really gaining those motor skills, motor planning, and building those new neural pathways. And they'll be able to do, other tasks and new
Yeah.
tasks.
Yeah. I mean, you're always learning something. I mean, I didn't know how to do a podcast 6 months ago, but I'm here.
Look at you. Now you're a pro.
Yeah. So, and I'm still learning, and that's okay. Be okay with that. And I also want to challenge parents. You learn too. Learn something new. You don't have to do a podcast if you don't want to,
Yeah.
but learn something. And it's not only just about your child, and you'll learn that the neural plasticity is not at an age, because a lot of people will talk, well, you haven't had it done by 3. They're never going to do it. If it's not done by 7, they're never going to do it. It's not done by 13. It's never going to happen. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You'll never learn any new skills? Oh, you went to college and didn't learn anything? What? You should get your money back.
Exactly. And just like I think about when the gym, I think it really stems down to is having that growth mindset, changing it. And for example, I remember when I first started going to the gym and thinking about like I could never do push-ups on my feet, perfect form, like this other girl in the gym. And then switching the mindset of like, okay, what does it need to take for me to get there? Maybe it's just starting on my knees and doing push-ups, girl push-ups on your knees and working on my form. And then slowly building from there to work up to doing push-ups on your feet and doing them with perfect form. And now I can do 10. And just, it's really that growth mindset and being able to allow yourself to shift a little bit and have that positive outlook.
Yeah, I think that's very important for, parents to think about that. And then also our children need to see that we do that so we can carry that over onto them.
Yes. Modeling that. I think that's a good idea. Like a good point you made.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about a little bit about real world successes and encouragement for parents. I'd like to hear a story from you, Melanie, from experiences that, highlights the impacts of OT.
Okay. I would
Whether that
say,
be like, encouraging words, for
okay.
parents who feel maybe overwhelmed right now, or rather next steps for families for exploring OT and motor coaching, like what does that look like for them?
Okay. I would say the biggest one is celebrating the small wins, the small victories. Those are just as important as the big wins and big victories because, yes, you might have these long-term goals that you're working towards, but celebrate those little milestones that you get to help get you to those long-term goals. And just keeping in mind that everyone's journey is going to look different. And I know it can be hard at times, but try not to compare yourself to others because they might have different goals and different timelines of when they want to accomplish than what you might have. And that's okay. Everyone's going to be different. And going back to that, there are going to be challenging motor days or off days, and that's okay. Doesn't mean it's a setback or anything. Take that break, think about what that goal might be, working on regulation, or maybe it's just we're gonna have a chill day, and then the next day continue working on your goals. That's just as important too, and kind of having that healthy mindset and overall regulation in your body. I think that's really important.
I think so too. I do too. Because having that mindset and then helping them with the regulation I think is key.
Yeah. And two, keeping as the parent or caregiver, getting your body regulated is just as important than to help your child or whoever you're working with to regulate their body. Because if you're not regulated first and in that good mindset, it's going to be so much harder to try to regulate the individual. So first looking at like, okay, am I regulated? Okay, if I'm not, what can I do to help regulate my body? Whether it's listening to your favorite song, listening to a podcast, or going for a walk. And then, okay, now my body's ready. I'm ready to go. I can help support this individual, whether it's with a motor task or working on regulation.
Yeah, and I think you're right because I do a practice of called heart math, and it really does help center me and focus me and help me just to come back where I need to be. I'd be recharged so I can help him when he
Yes.
has tough moments.
Yes, because you are his co-regulation partner. So being able to help regulate him, and that's why it's so important for your own regulation than to help regulate Elijah.
And I want to share with you guys one of the things that Mel does for regulation, especially I think for maybe the parents, on this one, is that she will ask these daily questions. So, Mel, what is your daily question for today?
Oh, okay. My daily one for today is, do you think fish can see water?
Hmm. No, I don't think so.
Okay, why?
Well, it's because, when you have contact lenses and you have to put drops in, especially if you wear a glass lens, that it has a convex lens, so there's a liquid lens there. So, no, they don't see
Okay.
it.
I also said no to the question, and I was thinking more on the lines that kind of replicating it to us as humans. We don't see air, so I'm saying fish don't see water. So kind of like putting them two side by side, and that's what my reasoning for.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that too. I can see that too.
Yes.
So, guys, put in the comments below, you know, to answer Mel's question. Okay? And so I would like to see what you guys say.
Me too. Okay.
Melanie, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your expertise and giving us such valuable insight on Apraxia, into Apraxia and OT.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure being able to chat with you and just kind of share my knowledge. And so thank you so much.
Yes, yes. So, if parents want to connect with you, how can they connect with you?
You can go to our website, spellers.com, and on there you can look up all the information, talk about like if you're interested in stuff, coming to our clinic, setting up a consult, and kind of like finding out more about this and what I'm talking about and like what we do at Spellers. That is a really good reference to go to. And something else that you'll find very helpful on our website is we have a book called Spellers Guidebook that is has so much information in it, and it's been helpful for all of my clients and even new clients starting out, getting that, reading it, and just kind of being more aware of the different, it has a lot of the terminology that I used during our podcast today.
I love that. And I will have all that linked in the show notes below for you guys. And I know that so many parents listening, they feel more equipped and supported that their children's, motor development after hearing this conversation. So again, if you guys want to learn more about Melanie's work and how to access her helpful resources, please, again, check out the show notes. We're going to have them listed here below. What will include all of the links that we have mentioned in this podcast earlier. And if you're enjoying this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review and share this with another parent who could benefit from this information. You can also connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Your Autism Journey for more discussions and support. Until next time, remember, you are your child's greatest advocate, and their journey is unique, beautiful, and worth every step. See you next week on Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey. Thank you so much for joining me today on Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey. I hope you found inspiration, insight, and connection in today's conversation. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. The road may be tough, but every step we take together is one closer to understanding, compassion, and support for our children and families. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with others who might benefit, and leave a review to help spread the word. And as always, I'm here cheering you on, having uncomfortable conversations. Keep advocating, and most importantly, find your identity in this beautiful autism journey. Until next time, take care and stay strong.